Hi, everyone. My name is Alisa Sosa. I am a research assistant working on the Dana Foundation Career Network in Neuroscience and Society project. And I'm joined today by Dr. Khara Ramos, who is the Vice President of Neuroscience and Society at the Dana Foundation. Dr. Ramos, if you could please introduce yourself.
Sure, absolutely. I love the way you pronounce my name. I don't usually hear it like that. So I'm Khara Ramos, Vice President for Neuroscience and Society at the Dana Foundation, and I'm happy to be doing this.
Thank you so much for being here today. So my first question for you will be, what was the career path that led you to begin working in neuroscience and society?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think like everybody I know who works in this area, my path didn't make sense sort of as I moved through it, really. It's only retrospectively that I can see how all the pieces fit together. So I'm trained as a neuroscientist. I got interested in the brain when I was an undergraduate, and I did a PhD. But even when I was a graduate student, I knew I didn't want to be a PI, a principal investigator having my own lab. But the problem for me was that I didn't know what other career options I had as a neuroscientist. And I think it's so wonderful that now, there's going to be resources that are readily available for people who are interested in neuroscience and society so that, students can see from early on what kind of options they have for them. So for me, I did a PhD. I did a postdoc because the research that I was doing was very interesting. And I really do love science and thinking about, understanding how the brain works. But I always knew that I wanted to do science that I felt would actually impact people's lives. And it just didn't feel to me that doing research had enough of that kind of immediacy of feeling like I'm going to make a difference in people's lives. So I think, in the fourth year of doing a postdoc when I learned about the AAAS Science and Technology Policy Fellowship Program. And I applied right away because it's meant to bring scientists and engineers to work in the federal government, both to learn about how the federal government operates and also to bring their scientific expertise to bear on, whatever office you end up working in. And it was really exciting to me because the idea of science policy as a career seemed like a really great way to do what I wanted to do, which was bring together science and, like I was saying, having that sense of actually having an impact on people's lives. And since the federal government, you know, obviously funds so much research that can really produce breakthroughs in treating diseases, for instance, and also sets policy decisions that shape so much of our lives, it really seemed like an exciting opportunity. So I went and worked at the National Institutes of Health, and I basically learned how that biomedical research agency operates kind of inside and out. I was there for about 10 years, and over the course of that time, I ended up working on something called the Brain Initiative, which was a flagship neurotechnology effort that was launched under the auspices of the Obama administration in 2013. And I was kind of just in the right place at the right time to be able to take on the challenge of basically taking an idea and bringing it to life. And the idea was, if you're going to have a neuroscience research endeavor of any sort, but especially one like the Brain Initiative, which was focused on essentially decoding how brain circuit function produces emotion, cognition, perception, and behavior. If you're going to do that, you should really be proactively engaging with the ethical, legal, and societal implications of that kind of work. And so that's basically what I did. I worked with a really wonderful group of colleagues at NIH to build a neuroethics research portfolio at NIH to try to integrate neuroethics into our communication strategy, our policy, our decision making, and really just thinking about all of that neurotechnology research portfolio and the ethical, legal, and societal implications of it. So that's what I worked on. And I was just really interested in, thinking about like these amazing advances in neurotechnology, like how are they actually going to show up in society? Who is going to be able to make decisions about how those technologies are produced, how we ask research questions to generate new knowledge? And so it was just such a perfect fit for me. But I had to jump at the chance to come to the Dana Foundation because at NIH, I was focused on biomedical applications of neuroscience, whereas at the Dana Foundation, we're in a position to think even more broadly about the intersection of neuroscience and society, because unlike the NIH, which is a biomedical research agency, we have just a broader kind of remit to think about not only biomedicine, but also, one of the things we're really interested in right now is the intersection of neuroscience and the law, for instance. And that's not really within the scope of the NIH. But here, for instance, we are interested and are supporting some new ways of teaching judicial professionals about what is the current state of the science in neuroscience, to be able to inform essentially how those professionals are able to use neuroscience in their work. So it's a really amazing opportunity to be at the foundation right now and working as a scientist, a trained neuroscientist, but thinking about how do we work to advance neuroscience as a whole field in a way that the way we describe it is in a way that benefits society and reflects the aspirations of all people.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that. As for my next question, for students and others watching this, what advice would you give them about pursuing a career in neuroscience and society?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, one of the first things is to take advantage of the resources that do exist now, like I was saying before, that didn't exist, when I was a trainee. So the Neuroscience and Society Career Network website, I think, is just a great portal to access information about what neuroscience and society careers could be, and also to start to connect with people who are doing those kinds of jobs. Because I think that networking is really important, and I mean that in the sense that it gives you the ability to meet people and kind of color in your mind, okay, this is something I could do. It gives you kind of concrete examples of what career pathways could be. And also it gives you the opportunity to find mentors, people who can talk to you about what kinds of courses might make sense for you to take, what should you do as you're getting to the end of your undergraduate career and thinking about what's next. I think that accessing the resources and connecting with people who are further along than you, just to get ideas of what might be possible, is really helpful. And I think the other thing that exists now, and I love to see it because I feel like I didn't really have this when I was a trainee, is a peer network. There are so many students and trainees that I meet at all levels of their careers who are interested in neuroscience and society, and just having those folks be able to talk to each other and connect with each other when they're at similar career stages is such a great kind of peer opportunity to see what other people are doing, and again to get ideas about what you might want to do for taking charge of the own trajectory of your career.
And finally, what are the best aspects and most challenging aspects of pursuing a field in neuroscience and society?
Yeah, so I think what's really challenging about it right now is that people don't really know what it is. So I think of neuroscience and society as kind of an emerging field. And so I think in maybe 5 years, collectively, we'll have a much better sense of this is what it is. This is the kind of training that people get to become neuroscience and society scholars and practitioners. These are the kinds of things that neuroscience and society people do. These are the careers that they have. But right now, it's still so new that we don't yet have that shared kind of understanding of language to describe the work and, the pathways that, like I was saying, the careers that exist. So, I think that's one of the challenges, and one that we're trying to really assist at the Dana Foundation by working with a lot of people in these neuroscience and society communities to essentially kind of co-create what that language is. How should we talk about it? What are the ways that people are thinking about what neuroscience and society is and what it can do? And then I think we can help sort of gather that input and help get everybody on the same page in terms of how we talk about it, so that it really becomes a more kind of standard field that everybody can know and just be familiar with, like they are with like neuroscience, you know. So I think that's one of the challenges. But I think the flip side of that is that it's a real opportunity. You know, I think about my own training as a neuroscientist, and as I've been describing, the challenges that I had with just finding my way towards something that I had kind of an intuition of what I wanted, but it just didn't exist yet, you know. And I think there's such a great opportunity to, one way that I think about it is kind of reimagine the way neuroscience is conceptualized, the way it's taught, the way it's practiced, the way it's applied in society, and to really build a more inclusive and impactful sort of vision for what neuroscience is and how it relates to all of us as individuals, as people who live in communities and in a broader society. So I think it's both a challenge and an opportunity, and I just feel really excited and fortunate to be meeting with so many people like you, who are really energetic and passionate about where this is all going.
Yeah, thank you so much for this advice and for sharing your experience, Dr. Ramos. To our audience, please remember that there are more interviews available at neuroxcareers.org, and thank you so much for watching.